Yeah, good evening. All 18 of those defendants, all 18 of them former frat members at Penn State University's Beta Theta Pi, were here inside the Center County Courthouse. As they left the hearing, I approached them to ask how they're feeling. Penn State Beta Theta Pi fraternity president Brendan Young silent as he left the arraignment this afternoon. Brendan, are you remorseful at this point? His attorney saying only this.
It's a great tragedy.
Young and 17 other fraternity brothers are all charged in connection with 19-year-old Timothy Piazza's death on February 4th after a party at the frat with $1,000 worth of beer and vodka that prosecutors say was not permitted there and was essentially forced on pledges. Piazza had a .36 blood alcohol content when he fell 15 feet down a flight of stairs, fracturing his skull, shredding his spleen, and suffering a traumatic brain injury. The indictment says frat brothers found him pale, stiff, and unconscious, but waited 42 minutes before calling 911. The district attorney speaking this morning.
It's heartbreaking all around. There's no winners. We don't win by even charging these young men, because the only win is for him to be alive.
Frat brothers Jonah Newman and Joseph Sala also quiet coming out of court.
You're remorseful about all this?
No comment.
But Sala's attorney, who said he's also Sala's godfather, did offer this.
Is your client remorseful?
Of course, it's a tragedy, but, that doesn't mean there was any intent involved in any of this.
Now, the bulk of those defendants receiving a $100,000 unsecured bond, some of them getting a $50,000 bond with conditions such as no drinking, no drugs, and no travel outside of their state. They'll also have to surrender their passports. Their next court date coming up on May 17th. And coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to hear from the victim's father. Reporting live in Center County tonight, Bo Berman, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
I understand the importance of making sure you're good before you come back.
But there is hope tonight that Penguin captain Sidney Crosby may be back on the ice for Game 5 after skating today with his team and without a no-contact jersey.
Pittsburgh's Action Sports reporter Ryan Recker was there as the team practiced today. He joins us now live. And Ryan, this is certainly a positive step, right?
Andrew and Shannon, we've learned over the years that there's unpredictability when it comes to recovering from a concussion. And while Sidney Crosby remains uncertain to be cleared for tomorrow night's Game 5 in Washington, D.C., his presence on the ice at today's practice 4 days after being concussed was undoubtedly encouraging.
Good to get out there, skated yesterday too and felt good, so good to be out there with the guys.
Sidney Crosby skated today with the guys for the first time since suffering a concussion on Monday night. A no restrictions full contact workout for Crosby, who says he felt fine the day after the concussion. And as for practicing 4 days following the hit, he's trusting his body and the team's medical staff.
Well, I think having gone through this, I like to think I'm pretty aware of my body at this point. I understand the importance of making sure you're good before you come back, and I have a lot of belief in our staff here.
We'll see how he responds, and we go from there. But right now, his status hasn't changed at all. He's day to day.
With that day-to-day status, Crosby says that playing in Saturday's Game 5 is at least a possibility at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to rule it out. I think it's not really up to me. I think, you just kind of relay how you feel and kind of direct it from there.
And Mike Sullivan was adamant that Crosby's situation is not being handled differently just because the Penguins are in the midst of a playoff run. Coming up tonight at 6, Crosby for the first time talks about that hit that knocked him out of game number 3. For now, reporting live outside PPG Paints Arena, Ryan Recker, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Okay, Ryan, you're hitting the road as the series moves back to our nation's capital. Look for his live report Saturday night from Washington, D.C.
Former Pittsburgh Penguin Kevin Stevens avoids jail time after pleading guilty to drug charges. Stevens was sentenced to probation after admitting to conspiring with another man to sell oxycodone in Massachusetts. Stevens was on the Pens' 1991 and 92 Stanley Cup winning teams. Well, tonight, for the first time, Pittsburgh's mayor is weighing in as police continue to investigate allegations of sexual assault inside PPG Paints Arena. Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Jackie Kane joins us live now with some strong words from Mayor Bill Peduto. Jackie.
Shannon, still no word from police about whether they've even identified a suspect in this case. We do know the Pittsburgh Penguins are cooperating fully with this investigation. We caught up with Mayor Bill Peduto this afternoon for his reaction to these allegations. Listen.
Hearing the news, I was sickened. Sexual violence at any time, obviously, is something that we try as a society to prevent, but having it happen in a place where there would be so many people gathered and not being able to stop it if it did in fact happen just adds on to the tragedy.
Pittsburgh police tell us the woman walked into the Zone 2 headquarters in the Hill District just after midnight Thursday to report that she had been sexually assaulted in the bathroom during Game 4. Now, as far as what part of the arena this may have happened or when, police are not commenting. Now, we are still working to find out if anything will change in the arena as far as security goes. If the series moves on to a Game 6, that would bring the Pens home on Monday. Live outside PPG Paints Arena, I'm Jackie Kane, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
All right, Jackie, thank you. You know, it's been more than a year since a crowd of people were gunned down during a backyard barbecue. 5 people and an unborn child killed that day in Wilkinsburg.
Today, these 2 suspects appeared in court, and as Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Marcy Cipriani tells us, the attorneys for Sharon Shelton and Robert Thomas want to have the charges in this case thrown out.
Marcy is live downtown with what happened inside the courtroom. Marcy.
Shannon, attorneys for both Sharon Shelton and Robert Thomas argued that there is no case against their clients. They say that they are not responsible for what's being called the Wilkinsburg massacre inside the courtroom. According to prosecutors, though, they say that is actually not the case, and they believe Shelton and Thomas's case is so strong that they are seeking the death penalty. Police say the men opened fire on a family backyard barbecue in Wilkinsburg in March of last year. 5 people were killed that day, along with an unborn baby. Prosecutors believe Thomas fired a handgun into the backyard first, forcing the crowd to run away and toward Shelton, who police say then began firing an assault rifle at close range. Prosecutors say the murders were revenge for another killing. Defense attorneys told the judge, though, today that there is nothing that links their clients to the crime.
There's not an eyewitness that identifies Mr. Thomas. There's no DNA. There's no ballistics. No one can put Mr. Thomas at the scene of the crime the night it happened. It's our position he has no association with anybody who did any wrongdoing that night. He did not do this, and our position is that Commonwealth cannot prove that he did this.
The judge denied the motions to dismiss the case, and both Shelton and Thomas are expected back in court next month. Live downtown, Marcy Cipriani, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
All new on 4, 2 women arrested in a prostitution bust in Shaler. 41-year-old Melinda Chalmers and 27-year-old Brittany Vareja face a number of charges, including endangering the welfare of children. Police in Allegheny County say the 2 were arrested at a home on Park Street.
A heads up today for those of you in Aspinwall. Your water service will be interrupted tomorrow. PWSA is conducting a shutdown of the pump station to connect a backup generator. It should begin at 2 a.m. and be finished about 3 hours later. You're asked not to try to use your water during that outage. That controversial health care measure now to the Senate, where it faces an uncertain future.
Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Aixa Diaz in Washington tonight, where senators from both sides are promising changes.
In his weekly address, President Trump calls on the Senate to take action on health care.
Repealing and replacing Obamacare will be a big, big win for the American people.
But many senators are criticizing the bill.
This bill is a disaster.
And the way Republicans went about passing it, with no estimate from the Congressional Budget Office.
I know that's not going to be acceptable here in the Senate.
Reacting to the bill, one Republican senator says there seem to be more questions than answers about its consequences. Another says changes must be made in a way that does not leave people behind.
They may start throwing some more money into subsidies. They may try to get rid of this massive cut in Medicaid that Trump is proposing, because they're going to have to explain to their constituents, if they lose services, why it is that they voted in favor of that.
The White House says while it expects changes in the Senate, the principles of the bill will stay the same.
Lowering costs, creating a competitive environment, flexibility, giving states the ability to make decisions within the healthcare system. We don't expect those things to change.
Analysts say senators could take months on their version of the bill. The White House says there is no timeline. They're willing to wait to get it right. In Washington, Aixa Diaz, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
A student allegedly beaten by a school resource officer. The video from inside Woodland Hills High School gaining national attention. Now a letter from the principal. What he's saying to the community, now in the center of the controversy.
And priceless items from Pirates legend Roberto Clemente going on the auction block. How you can start bidding.
It's better than hot. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Runners we caught up with are not too worried. Their game plan for the coldest marathon to date here in Pittsburgh.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Harvey, live in Mars, Pennsylvania at the Mars New Year Festival. Partly cloudy skies here, but we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. We'll show you where coming up in just a minute.
Now, Pittsburgh's Action News 4 with Shannon Perrine, Andrew Stocky, Chief Meteorologist Mike Harvey with the 4-degree guarantee, and Sky 4 everywhere with Action Cam. Always live. This is Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Now you can own a Roberto Clemente World Series ring, or maybe even a Gold Glove, or even his car. That's right, a very special event happening during All-Star Week in Miami this summer to auction hundreds of pieces of the Pirate Stars memorabilia. The baseball legend was killed in a plane crash in 1972, delivering food and medicine to Venezuela. The auction includes items with bidding starting at just a couple $100 and items like his 1960 World Series uniform that are nearly priceless. There's a contract he signed in 1970 and a flashy suit there. He liked to wear that around. And today at PNC Park, a sneak peek at some of the things Clemente's family is now parting with.
We wanted to share. A lot of people are always asking, is there a ball? Is there anything out there? People can't find anything on Clemente because people keep it. They don't want to get rid of it. So I believe that the right time came, and this is it. And I think that having it in Miami is the right place to do it.
Yeah, and that's this summer, right? So how about owning Clemente's 2000th baseball? It happened to be a home run, by the way, into the upper deck, of course.
Of course. Well, it is marathon weekend here in Pittsburgh. Tens of thousands of runners are ready to hit the streets of our great city. But this year it is going to be cold, and we're talking very cold compared to past races. But Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Sheldon Ingram, the runners, they don't seem to be too worried about it.
Yeah, well, the Health and Fitness Expo was a very busy place at this hour, as more than 40,000 runners will be checking in to get their gear. They get this green bag as well as their bib numbers for the race on Sunday morning. But we all know it's going to be pretty cold, and the people we talk to, they are not too concerned. These runners for the Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon have a unique distinction. They will embrace the coldest temperatures and the history of the event. And these folks aren't even concerned.
It's better than hot. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's better than hot.
That's not going to bother you at all?
No, it'll be all right.
No. Once you're a mile or two into it, you actually aren't cold anymore.
Well, it rained last year, so I'm ready. I'm like Amy said, I'm from here, so I'm used to the cold. It's not going to faze me. We're good.
The challenge is standing and waiting for the race to start in cold temps for 2 hours. Marathon organizers say cover up with warm clothes until start time and just leave them on the ground to be donated to Goodwill.
Yeah, just take it off, and then we have volunteers in Goodwill which will be on site collecting all of those donated clothing pieces.
I'm really excited. I'm kind of scared because I only did the half last year, but I figure I'm going to go for it. And I love high-fiving people the whole time.
I'm just excited to get in the whole atmosphere. It's so much fun. I ran last year for the first time for my first half marathon, and it's just it's like electric.
And there's so many neat stories that are coming out of the Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon, including one man who used the event to lose 120 pounds. We get to meet him at 5:30. For now, reporting live, Sheldon Ingram, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Well, it's a big weekend. All right, Pittsburgh's Action Weather, and we are celebrating New Year's on Mars, in Mars.
Where else? And our Chief Meteorologist Mike Harvey is live in Butler County tonight. Hey, Mike.
Hey guys, yeah, we are here in Mars, Butler County. We're going to talk about the festival that is going on here. But first, let's get to some severe weather in the area. As we head down southeast of Pittsburgh, you're going to see a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect until 5:30. That's for the areas around Connellsville, Morgan, Clinton, up towards Donegal, as well as Irishtown. That green blinking box, that is also a flash flood warning. That's in effect until 6:45 this evening. As we take a look and show you what's happening outside temperature-wise, you'll be able to see that things are cooling down a bit. We do have temperatures that are dropping down, that will be in the 60s as we head through the night, and as we head into tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing those temperatures that will be dropping off. We have a cold front that will be moving through, and that is going to be taking certainly our temperatures down for the weekend. As we take a look, 68 degrees outside right now, winds are northwest at 14 miles per hour. Already had 2/3 of an inch of rain, and it is pretty chilly around the region. Tomorrow, as we look at the temperatures, look at that. We're dropping down to the mid-40s, and we're going to stay pretty cold tomorrow, up into the upper 40s, low 50s for your high temperatures, with the clouds that will be around and some a few rain showers, scattered showers as well. As we go forward, you can see the problem areas that are down to the southeast of Pittsburgh. A couple of cells that have popped up. Very heavy rain, obviously with the flash flood warning and a severe thunderstorm warning for those areas. So basically east of Pittsburgh, you're going to have the potential for seeing heavy rain. As we go forward, you'll be able to see that we have more rain that is on the way to town and will be pushing in. You can see out to the west, out towards Indiana. That's actually the cold front, and that needs to move through before we put an end to these showers, and that's not going to happen until we get through the weekend. So we will have some scattered showers on Saturday and a chance for scattered showers on Sunday as well. Taking a look at Futurecast, here's low pressure that is moving up into the area, responsible for the cool air. And yeah, you saw that was a little bit of snow that will be working in as we head into Sunday. So tonight, this is when we'll have our best chance of seeing some showers into Pittsburgh around 8 o'clock, and then we go into Friday or Saturday morning, and we will have a chance of the scattered showers around town. Best chance of rain on Saturday will be in the morning, and then we take it to 4 o'clock, scattered showers really pretty much through the day on Saturday. As we take it forward into Sunday morning, and look at that, we do have a chance of some snowflakes flying around early on Sunday morning, most of that in the higher elevations, but can't rule out a snowflake, wet one mixing in with some rain in Pittsburgh as well. As we take a look Sunday later on, yeah, we cleared out also a little bit of everything this weekend as sunshine will return to finish out the weekend. As we go ahead and show you what's happening for your low temperature tomorrow, dropping it down to the mid-40s, cloudy and cool with some rain showers off and on through the day. And your high temperature tomorrow, we're only going to make it up to, well, I think that might be a little warm for tomorrow. I think we're going to make it up to around 52 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be cooler and definitely. Let's take a look at the high tomorrow. 52 degrees, 55 on Sunday. Early showers especially, could be some snow. Frost is a possibility on Monday and Tuesday. You may have to worry about the plants. And then as we take it through the rest of the week, you're going to see temperatures that will eventually be warming up. Your 4-degree guarantee for today, we're calling for a high temperature of 52 degrees. Well, I'm here in Mars, Pennsylvania, and this is the Mars New Year Festival where they celebrate the new year of the planet Mars. Happens every 22 months as it has a longer orbit around the sun than Pittsburgh, and we have people from NASA that come in from all around the country, from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory as well as headquarters. And right now on the big screen, they're doing a talkback with astronauts and scientists at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. This is live right now, and they're talking about the missions that are going to be going to the planet Mars, when they can actually do it, and what will be necessary for that to be accomplished. So here in Mars, we're seeing mostly cloudy skies. Down to the southeast, definitely a little bit rougher weather. We'll talk more about the weekend weather coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, cool stuff, Mike. Thank you. Well, we are busy counting down the hours, minutes, and seconds until Kennywood officially opens for its 119th season.
It's almost time, and today we were invited for a sneak peek. What is new at Kennywood tonight at 6 o'clock?
If you don't feel people are going to understand, you're going to have a hard time opening up.
Getting teens to talk about suicide. Only on 4, how the author of 13 Reasons Why says parents should handle the heavy topic.
How Darlene Harris claims homeless Pittsburghers are being registered to vote for Mayor Peduto, and what the mayor has to say.
If you haven't watched it yet, you have likely heard about it. 13 Reasons Why is a huge hit on Netflix.
But the series is triggering warnings for parents and really stirring up controversy in schools. Some say it glamorizes suicide.
Today, the author whose book inspired the series was in Westmoreland County, speaking on the campus of Pitt Greensburg. And only Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter David Kaplan was there.
Jay Asher was the keynote speaker at the Children's Literature Conference this morning. It's one of dozens of speeches he gives yearly, both about writing and his most popular piece of work.
Ever since it came out, I've been speaking at schools, mostly to address the issues in the book, which it deals with suicide, obviously, but bullying and how we treat each other.
13 Reasons Why is a fictional story about a teenage girl who committed suicide after sending recordings to people detailing 13 reasons why she killed herself. A heavy topic for sure, and one Asher wants to be discussed.
When I wrote the book, I knew when you deal with sensitive issues, people are going to have varying opinions and they're going to discuss it, which discussion is what the book's about, and so that's great.
But some experts are worried about the popularity of the show. This week, Pittsburgh Public Schools sent home a letter to parents saying the Pennsylvania Youth Suicide Prevention Initiative does not recommend kids watch the series, citing a glamorization of suicide, a lack of addressing behavioral and treatment options, and a focus on unnecessary drama around the girl's suicide. The show is rated for mature audiences. Jay Asher says he knows with such a sensitive topic, concerns will pop up, but he stands by the story and says the better informed parents are, the more likely productive conversations will be had.
If you don't feel people are going to understand, you're going to have a hard time opening up. So I think conversation is good and the discussion is good, but we also have to make sure as adults we're letting the teens know, yes, this makes me uncomfortable, but that's no reason not to talk about it.
In Greensburg, Westmoreland County, David Kaplan, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
I did it as a goal to help me lose weight, but never did I think that it would change my life. And it's a whole different outlook. It honestly did save my life.
From 336 pounds to running in the Pittsburgh Marathon. All new at 5:30, how training transformed his life.
This is Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Pittsburgh's action weather at 5:30 and a severe thunderstorm warning and a flood advisory now in effect.
Yeah, lots going on, and Chief Meteorologist Mike Harvey joins us now live from Mars, Butler County, where a celebration is actually underway. But Mike, will that party there in Mars get washed out?
I am live in Mars, Pennsylvania, where it is dry now, mostly cloudy skies. Certainly not the case across the entire region. Southeast of Pittsburgh, that's where we're getting hit the hardest. We do have severe thunderstorms that are moving through the area. Severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Fayette County, and that is dropping a lot of rain. In fact, we do have a flash flood warning in effect until 6:30 as well for basically the same area. That's the green blinking box that is on the screen right now. The orange blinking box, that's the severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect. As we take a wider look, you can see the rain isn't over. As we head into the weekend, we will have more scattered showers that will be pushing into the region. Well, we'll let you know more about temperatures that are going to be dropping over the weekend. That's coming up here in just a few minutes.
Now we're talking about a local school caught in the national spotlight here. A school resource officer accused of knocking out a student's tooth. Tonight, the attorney for that student, Quayshawn Wade, is talking to Good Morning America, saying this exposes a culture of abuse at the school.
What we also like to see is that training be implemented at this school so that the culture of violence that has taken place at Woodland Hills comes to an end.
But the school is firing back. Pittsburgh's Action News 4 anchor Mike Clark with what they have to say following all this national attention, Mike.
Well, Shannon and Andrew, the lawyer for both that officer and Principal Kevin Murray, defended the actions on GMA, saying the video shows the student was disorderly and resisting. And in a letter, the principal is urging the district to come together, to unite, explaining that he grew up in one of the 12 neighborhoods that make up Woodland Hills. Writing this, we can only point fingers and make accusations for so long before we need to take a look in the mirror and ask ourselves, where did we go wrong? What can we do better? And how can we be the best versions of ourselves for our children? He goes on to say that we have to work together through our differences, our stereotypes, and our prejudices to continuously build up this community that allows itself to be torn down all too often. The letter is signed by more than 80 teachers and staff members at the junior-senior high school, thanking parents, guardians, and community members, with a list of some of the positive school program events in the coming weeks. Andrew, Shannon, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you. You know, they waited 40 minutes to call police and gave him a lethal amount of alcohol. That is at least what prosecutors say happened inside the Beta Theta Phi fraternity house at Penn State University the night Timothy Piazza died. And tonight, only Pittsburgh's Action News